Welcome to MAP's Companion Series. Watch an episode, then watch one of our companion videos, and then revisit the episode with a whole new perspective.
Let's talk.
5.1 million viewers tuned in on Sunday, October 28th to watch the final episodes of Rick Grimes. That's another little bump up in the live plus same-day ratings. The previous episode ended with the reveal that the women of Oceanside have been killing the saviors, just the ones involved with murdering the men and boys from their former camp. Also, Maggie decided that it is time to make things right and pay prisoner Negan a visit. Now, let's go deeper into The Walking Dead, episode 904, The Obliged. The episode opens showing Michonne's day-to-day activities, much like the previous episode showcased Rick's. As rewarding as rebuilding their community or playing with her adopted daughter Judith can be, she's haunted by her addiction of the thrill killing the undead, showcased wonderfully in select scenes where during the day her katana is looming in the background, almost as if to call out to her. She's also disturbed by a hanging walker with his hands tied, which doesn't appear to be a current side character. It would make sense for it to be a savior that Oceanside killed, which fits Michonne's desire to punish properly in accordance to laws that govern them all, not just vigilante free-for-all justice. There is a striking resemblance between the hanging walker and Michonne's husband from her dream sequence back in season 4, his look right down to his hoodie. She's also cleaning her katana in that scene, similar to how she does in this episode. Being distracted, another walker catches her off guard, and she picks up a baseball bat to finish it off. This is the start to her connection with Negan in this episode, the bat reminding her of her choice to support Rick and keep him alive. They even play a very super quiet remix of Negan's theme as the bat lays on the ground. Next, we visit the hilltop and they set up another letter from Georgie, which looks more and more like this might be Maggie's exit from the show, either temporary or permanent. Back to the important bridge, Rick watches in disappointment as water from overnight took out the levees and now might destroy the bridge. Eugene gives Rick the bad news, and in one of what will likely be their last scenes together alone,
look at this dude.
Rick compliments Eugene in a way that touches back to a previous season when Negan told Eugene that Rick didn't appreciate him or what he could do.
Does Rick have you doing this kind of valuable stuff for him? Oh, his loss, our gain.
Well, I was gifted these pickles.
The camera lingers a moment on Eugene's very subtle smile as he gets that appreciation that he's long desired. Another likely last, Carol and Rick have a private moment discussing the saviors. Carol confirms that they don't want Negan back, at least not most of them, and that they need to make their own way. The emotions are also a little meta, as the actors know this will be their last moment alone in a scene together after 9 long seasons. Next, Jerry notifies Rick that Jesus sent a warning that Maggie is on her way to Alexandria. Daryl offers to drive Rick, but he's not interested in stopping Maggie. Instead, he takes Rick on a little ride. And yeah, you probably see it now. They show where Rick gets injured well before it happens. And I absolutely love it. A scuffle later and they end up in a deep hole, symbolic for every time they butt heads, they end up digging themselves deeper into a hole. Not just Rick and Daryl, but them as a group. Meanwhile, Michonne visits Negan to get him eating again, but the lonely foe wants to talk. Back in the hole, beyond the symbolism, this scene keeps Rick and Daryl together to hash things out one final time in this series, but it also keeps them close to the camp to connect them to the story ahead. And this is one of the best interactions between the two. Even though they disagree, they both have very valid points, and they see things in a different perspective.
To all them assholes who can't wait to see things go back to the way that they were.
Keeping them alive is how we make sure it won't.
No. Keeping them alive is giving them hope that it will.
Plus, it's very reminiscent to Rick and Shane's talk back in Season 2 about looking for Sophia, which eerily sounds very similar to what Negan said to Michonne that pissed her off.
You got people depending on you. Well, you think I don't know that? I don't know. What are we doing? Got every able body at your disposal out scouring these woods for a little girl we both know is likely dead. Survival, Rick. It means making hard decisions, but you got this knack, man. You spread us thinner and thinner, trying to save lives here, and you're out saving cats from trees.
We just moved on, man. We'd be halfway to Fort Benning right now. Carl wouldn't have gotten shot. Your own son almost died, man. Otis, he paid that bill. What the hell are we still doing this for?
I had her in my hand, Shane. She looked in my eyes and trusted me. I failed her. If I hadn't, she wouldn't be out here. Alive or not, Sophia, she only matters to the degree in which she don't drag the rest of us down.
I know that you know what I'm talking about, and that is why you're grateful, too.
Grateful for what?
That Andre's gone. Because you know all he would have done is make you weak.
After Shane tells Rick his upsetting, honest opinion, they spot T-Dog and Andrea's blue marker, telling them they searched that grid already. It's a similar tactic they use later on when fighting Negan and the communities wear different colored armbands. Nice overhead shot too. There's also a very subtle but very cool blink and you'll miss it moment here. Negan says,
I think that I'm not meant to be rotting in this cell. Just like I think the warrior in you is not meant to be planting kale and kissing boo-boos.
And Michonne snaps back.
We're reordering the world, rebuilding government and creating laws. We're at the start of everything, and nothing is holding us back while you're rotting in here with nothing.
But she's hiding something, her nighttime escapades. We see her leaning on the bars and then wiping her arm, just as she did in 903 to hide the blood from Rick. She's also hiding something from Negan. She gets mad and leaves, but she doesn't stay gone long though. Her katana calls out to her yet again, reminding her of the internal conflict inside her. And a deal is a deal. Negan has to eat. On his sandwich are those tomatoes. The camera's focus keeps the symbolism alive from the previous episode. Carl's vision of working together. But Negan's pitiful bite is one that got some crust and maybe a tiny sliver of that tomato. His final request, he wants his bat, Lucille. Yep, his bat. Named after his dead wife, who died of cancer. It's the only thing he has left that he cherishes. Now, Michonne claims they don't have it, and we don't know if that's true or not. And Negan's line about seeing Lucille again doesn't quite stick, but it drives him mad enough to headbutt the wall, likely splitting his head open. Later on, Michonne is reminded of her talk with Negan, while reading to Judith and seeing a baseball bat. Negan talked about children making her weak and dragging her down. Anne's human trafficking mystery unfolds more, but she can't go through with it. Instead, she knocks Gabe out and leaves him in search of a different A, possibly. But what would happen if she returned to the camp and she discovers that no one suspects her any longer? That's if she went back to the camp. It's increasingly curious to the fans that her helicopter mystery storyline is coming to a close at the same time as Rick's final 2 episodes, leaving fan theories exploding all over the internet. Now back at the campsite, Carol sees the Saviors approaching. Jed took Alden's gun, leaving it unknown whether or not he killed him, and he tells Carol that he took the scenic route, possibly discovering Oceanside's old camp and figuring out who has been killing them. A gunfight breaks out, leaving only a few clues. Jed has the only gun from the looks of it, but he's knocked down by Carol. A woman on a white horse turns to the woods as saviors emerge. 3 of them have blades and the other is Regina, and she only has her cane, and she's also shaking her head as if to say no, don't shoot. Just as the scene cuts, we hear gunfire. The last scene with the camp only shows the white horse fleeing into the woods without a rider, running away from the commotion. The rider was likely either wounded or killed. Her gun could now be in the hands of a savior, which helps to explain the exchange of gunfire. Daryl and Rick, now frantic, try to get out of the hole, knowing the sounds will for sure attract the 2 large herds that Eugene spoke about earlier. The pit symbolism continues. Remember, when fighting amongst each other, they end up in a hole, but once they start working together, they are able to get out of one. And it's gotta be mentioned, the sliding walkers are a bit funny, in a good way.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Now, once out of the hole, the tension is high. Fans know Rick could be fatally injured in any moment, and it's a great scene, calling back to season 2 in a lot of ways, but first in a scene that mirrors one scene from season 2 specifically. Rick reaches out his hand to pull up Daryl, and back in season 2, Daryl hallucinates his brother on top of the hill, reaching out his hand.
Come on, little brother. Grab your friend Rick's hand.
Brother, take my hand.
This is a part of Daryl's story, essentially with Rick coming full circle. In a way, it's also like the passing of a torch. Now, Vision Merle was mocking Daryl for trusting Rick and told him that they would get rid of him.
You're nothing but a freak to them. Redneck trash. You know that, don't you? One of these days, they're gonna scrape you off their heels like you was dog shit.
Instead, Daryl and Rick have become as close as brothers. Possibly even closer than Merle and Daryl ever could get. Once out of the hole, Rick sees that white horse, and he'll hear nothing about destroying the bridge, so he wants to lead the herds away. Now, a white horse is symbolic in many cultures, but one of them is death. It's interesting to note Maggie on the road to Alexandria spots some dead walkers, and one of them still has an axe in its back. She takes in the odd, unexplained scene, but rides ahead to finish what she set out to do, leaving fans to wonder, what are those bodies, and what does that scene mean? Is that Rick's axe? Will we see this scene in episode 905? Was it the Saviors? Why is there an axe in a zombie's back and not its head? Am I right? Now, Rick slowly leads the herd, keeping them focused on him, but he comes to an intersection near some rubble when another herd spooks his horse, throwing him off. This is a direct callback that parallels the very first season. When he enters Atlanta, he sees a helicopter and he rushes ahead on horseback to follow it. Turning a corner and coming face to herd with some walkers, he retreats, only to get cornered by more walkers and then getting thrown off his horse. Now, getting thrown off his horse in season 1 was literally the start to his journey, and getting thrown off now looks to be the start to the end of his journey. Remember in season 2 when Daryl crawled up the hill? Well, how he ended up down there is also similar to this scene. Daryl was looking for Sophia on Herschel's horse when a snake spooked the horse, sending him tumbling down a hill, and an arrow pierces his left side. After Rick screams out in agony, it is revealed that he fell onto some rubble and onto a piece of rebar, piercing his left side, exactly like Daryl, even like wrapping the wound in the next episode. I gotta throw one more thing in here. Being a huge zombie genre fan, it's just amusing to me that the 2 greatest lead male characters in the zombie genre, one in a video game and one on a TV show, were seriously injured in very similar ways.
Joel, 1, 2, 3.
The pain is blinding, and Rick passes out. The camera pans up, showing the 2 converging herds heading right for their own personal all-you-can-eat Rick buffet. It's a haunting yet cool image to close out the second to last episode for this iconic TV hero, Rick Grimes. Next, deeper into The Walking Dead, episode 905, Rick's final episode. I'd like to thank you all for your patience. I wanted to take a little bit more time and add some extra stuff and some extra editing to this one. I'm actually very proud of this one, especially I feel like they're getting better and better, and I can't wait to explore more of the deeper into, even those outside of The Walking Dead and the ones that will go into past episodes of The Walking Dead. Again, your support and positive comments on these deeper into videos are just mind-blowing. The positivity in the comments and uplifting support is incredible, and it's definitely a sign that we're heading on the right track as we enter into a new year, uplifting the deeper into as a staple series on this channel. All your support is definitely needed and absolutely appreciated. If you can share the video, share word of mouth. There's even support links down below, and we got some Patreon where we're reworking some rewards that actually fit into the Deeper Into series, like some behind the scenes. We have 3 new videos up on Patreon. It's an experimental thing. It's actually open to all patrons, no matter what tier you're in. So check out those and definitely add some suggestions, because going from 2018 to 2019, it's a big transition that will lay down the foundation of the structure on this channel moving forward that I'm absolutely excited about. Establishing shows, setting up schedules, so much exciting stuff. Thank you so much for the support. All right, Matt family, I'll see you this Sunday for the live after show for The Walking Dead episode 905.
I ain't nobody's bitch.